All right, we'll be starting the webinar in just a minute. And just a little housekeeping. I want to thank you all for joining us today. And I hope you're having a great week. It's so beautiful out now that the temperature and the humidity has dropped down. It's a great day. And whoops, I just have to mute something on the other side. All right, and I see Danielle has jumped on. A couple of things. We have a gift from Four Sigmatics we're going to do a drawing from all the attendees, and we'll be notifying you by the end of the week, whoever the winner is. So we want to thank them for that. It'll be something delicious, I'm sure, and very healthy for us. There is a question and answer panel on your screen. So if you do have any questions, please type them in. And at the end of the presentation, we'll go through the questions and make sure we answer everything for you. Also, Customer Appreciation Week does go all week right through Sunday, and it's even over tax-free weekend. So if you put your order in on Saturday, you'll save an extra 6.25%, and everything in the health and wellness part of the store is 20% off. And you can order either by calling, by going online to our Shopify account, or by emailing us at ca@naturalcompounder.com. And with that, I'd like to turn this over to Danielle. She's the National Educator, and she's going to teach us all about fungi and mushrooms. I was really surprised when she first came into the Wellness Center to Johnson's, and I love my cup of coffee in the morning. And when she started showing us and gave us a sample of some of the coffee with different mushrooms in it, I was thinking it's almost like a beer that you add lemon to, it ruins the beer. So I figured this was going to ruin the cup of coffee. And it really amazed me how delicious it really was, and easy to make. It tastes like a delicious cup of coffee, and it's so healthy for you. So I'm going to mute myself and turn this over to you. You can share your screen, and I'll jump back on at the end.
Right on. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Hi, everyone. I'm sitting outside in Taos, New Mexico right now, and there's some crazy barking dogs. So if it gets crazy, Gary, maybe I'll move locations and hop inside. Can you guys hear those dogs?
We can hear them, but we can hear you. So we'll see how it goes.
Okay, at any point I can move in. But hi, thanks for that great introduction. Happy to be with you all today. Yeah, a little bit about who I am and why I'm talking to you before we jump in is I'm a registered herbalist of the American Herbalist Guild, and I'm holistic nutritionist. I also teach mycology, where I'm typically based in Boulder, Colorado, at our herb school there, Colorado School of Clinical Herbalism, which is where I did my graduate studies in herbal medicine. And of course, at Four Sigmatic, I'm our national educator. So really so excited to talk to you all about, the theme of the talk today is elevating your routines by harnessing the power of functional mushrooms. So we'll kind of go back and forth between what we're doing at Four Sigmatic, which is more of the tangible ways to bring these ingredients into your everyday routine, and then also more like general information about our top functional mushrooms and why they're so powerful and what they do. So as Gary mentioned, please ask any questions throughout, and then if I don't get to them, I'll be sure to leave some time at the end, and we'll be together for the next like 30, maybe 35, 40 minutes, depending on how far we get. So kind of overview of what we're doing at Four Sigmatic and why we exist is we help people achieve what I like to call elevated wellness using the world's most nutrient-dense ingredients. And so although our talk today is primarily about functional mushrooms, we at Four Sigmatic are not just a mushroom company, we're a wellness company, superfood company, and you'll learn in a moment why we give so much energy and attention to functional mushrooms specifically. So who we are, as I just mentioned, right, wellness company, and we know that the ingredients we're using, many of them are adaptogens, they're tonics, they're meant to be used long term. So we don't have any quick fixes here or band-aids. We're really looking to build and nourish the system from this very root-based place to achieve long-term sustainable wellness solutions. And so we recognize that it's really challenging for people to start something every single day, you know, especially if it involves an ingredient that they may have never heard of, like lion's mane or chaga. And so our philosophy is merging those ingredients with routines that already exist. So we look at, right, most over 60% of Americans drink a cup of coffee every morning. What a perfect way to add these functional ingredients into this routine that very likely isn't going anywhere, right? We want it to be almost so simple that you don't forget, or you don't have to give that much extra time or energy to make these habits part of day-to-day life. So we look at these staples. So one of them is, you know, morning coffee. Another thing is something that most of us do when we unwind at the end of the day, whether it's a glass of red wine or something sweet. We want to create a better for you option for every routine that exists. And that better for you option means adding the most nutrient dense ingredients in the world into those routines, right? And the whole goal, and we had this sentence, I swear, long before the world of 2020, but is to help us meet the overwhelming demands of modern life. And this year, it just feels so relevant to be doing what we're doing. You know, if you're to look for functional mushrooms out in the marketplace, they'll typically always be in the aisle that's immune. And so, you know, they're one of the safest, most effective options for long-term immune support, which typically isn't very sexy. Like, people are looking for something to do today, tomorrow, next week to kind of, you know, temporarily boost and stimulate their immune system, rather than, oh, start, you know, drinking this reishi or chaga now to make sure that you don't get sick at the change of season in 3 months and 6 months next year. And now for the first time, that's really desirable. And so as our founder and one of my dear friends, Tara, who's in this picture, kind of blurry, told me recently, he's like, it's kind of like we've been selling umbrellas for the past 8 years while it's been sunny. And now we're still selling umbrellas while it's raining. And so, you know, what our ingredients do primarily is support long-term immune and stress. And that's exactly what so many of us are, you know, are our chief complaints through this wild year we're living in. So this is a slide where I said it would make more sense that why we're not just a functional mushroom company, but a superfood company. And I like to start with this. This is what our brand name means. So essentially, we'll try to make this simple. If we take all of the edible foods in the world and we graph them based on their nutrient density, some foods are horrible for us, some foods are amazing for us, and most foods are okay, average foods. So if you can picture this is the bell curve here on the bottom of my screen. So we have this graph that forms, and every measurement away from that mean, that 0 in the center there, is a standard deviation or a sigma. So when you go in the negative sigma direction, foods are getting lower and lower in nutrient density. They're getting worse and worse for you. And in the positive sigma direction, the foods are getting more unique, more nutrient dense. And so essentially we are using, you know, if we scan to the right of this mean, 1 sigma foods are like whole foods. Foods are all of our great grandmothers would recognize, right? Nothing with a nutrition fact panel label on it, but just an actual apple or an actual egg. 2 sigma foods, we're getting into staple foods. So a lot of grains and legumes fall in this category. 3 sigma foods are our health foods. So a lot of our fruits and veggies are here. And then 4 sigmas, so 4 standard deviations from the mean, there's only about 50 to 100 foods in this category. And these are both the most researched and most nutrient dense foods on the planet. And we're committed to using all 4 sigma category foods. And so I put some examples here. Many of them, of course, are mushrooms, but there are others like even coffee, lemon, green tea, ginseng, some of our plant-based adaptogens like ashwagandha, schizandra, gotu kola. So Four Sigma Foods, the spark notes of our brand name is we're using the best of the best superfoods. Okay, so functional fungi 101, just to make sure we're all on the same page and we know what we're talking about when we say fungi or mushrooms. First things first is that fungi are their own kingdom, right? So many people, this actually wasn't even discovered until the 70s, and people thought that they were like a lower form of plant. And then we realized, okay, they're nothing like plants. They're almost this bridge between the plant kingdom and the animal kingdom. And so fungi are their own biological kingdom, and it's a massive, massive amount of species that reside within the fungal kingdom. We know the exact number is actually pretty debated because we're still discovering more and more by the day. But we do know that there are at least 6 times as many species of fungi for every plant on Earth. Let's just like stop and think about that for a moment. Think of every plant you can name. So this includes every fruit, vegetable, tree, grass, grain, shrub. And now think about how many mushrooms you can name. And then note that there's actually 6 times as many mushrooms. And so really, I love this. It kind of blows open our minds to recognizing how much there is to explore within this subject. Just some other like fun facts. Humans share about 40% of our DNA with mushrooms. So many of the strategies that fungi use out in nature to defend themselves against certain antigens, bacteria, even dangerous, fungi, we can actually utilize these functional mushrooms, and they can have a similar effect and benefit in our body. Totally vital to the ecosystem. So all of us, no matter where we are on planet Earth right now, are breathing in fungal spores, and every breath about 10 fungal spores, like the seeds of mushrooms. Every step we take on the earth, we're walking on at least miles and miles of this mycelial biomass, so kind of the root system of the fruiting body or the mushroom itself. So in us, around us, underneath us, they are everywhere. And I feel we're finally ready as, the Western culture to start opening our eyes and embracing how much this kingdom truly has to offer for both our personal health, the health of the planet, and so much more. Okay, we need like 4 hours. I need you guys to be in my mycology course to get through all this, but super basic. I want to make sure you understand the different parts of the mushroom, because especially when you're buying mushrooms in the marketplace, you'll find different parts. And so I mentioned there's the spores, right? This is where the mushroom starts. It's essentially that seed, the reproductive portion bearing the DNA. There's the fruiting body, which is what we think of as the mushroom. It's what I'm holding in this picture here. That's the true mushroom, or the fruit, right? So like the apple of the tree that bears the seeds, the mushroom is what holds those spores. So that's called the fruit body or the fruiting body. And then there's these essentially roots. They're not truly roots, but they can be thought of like that. And they're called mycelium, which is, if anyone's a gardener, has dug in soil, it's that white stringy stuff that's in our garden beds. And incredible benefits of mycelium for the planet. When it comes to, here, I'll move to this next slide. When it comes to our health, really, really important to use the fruiting body or the real mushroom itself. We know that depending on the species we're talking about, these mushrooms have been used for over 5,000 years in cultures all across the world, from traditional Chinese medicine to Russian folk medicine, Korean folk medicine, primarily in the eastern part of the world. But there is some evidence in the West as well of native cultures using these fungi too. And the part of the species that have always been used for both food and medicine is this fruit body. It's the part that's above ground or on the side of a tree. So it's absolutely impossible to harvest mycelium, which is this root structure, from nature. So if you see mycelium in products today, it's grown in a lab, typically on some sort of grain or substrate. So although at Four Sigmatic we're like the trendy, mushroom coffee, cacao company, when it comes to our ingredients, our motto is nature knows best. And so we source every ingredient in the way that has been used for thousands of years in cultures across the world. So this is why I was so drawn to joining forces with Four Sigmatic several years ago as an herbalist, is really reviving and making sure that these traditional methods and ingredients are kept alive. And so we use the ingredients, we say, as nature intended. So all wild crafted or log grown, organic fruiting bodies. And so not only is, it's like carrying on the tradition, reviving this herbal medicine, looking at the past to create what we're doing now. We also know from modern science that this fruiting body, the actual mushroom here, this is lion's mane that we're looking at, has about 30 to 40 times the active compounds as the root. So I'm making a point of this because we are one of the few companies that are sourcing log grown organic fruiting bodies. It's about 10 times more expensive than other forms, but it's truly the creme de la creme, right? This is the true medicine of the mushroom. Okay, before we get into this, I have to read this amazing quote. This is from the man who taught me to grow mushrooms, Peter McCoy. And it just kind of gives us some perspective, which feels really important in today's day. So if the entirety of Earth's history was compressed to a 24-hour clock, and today was midnight on that clock, so we've lived through the whole day, fungi may have evolved as long as 18 hours and 40 minutes ago. And in comparison, modern humans would only exist for 1 second. So these are our ancestors, right? This is like, we'll have another talk of fungal evolution because it's truly fascinating. Okay, so I want to touch on, we just talked about this vast kingdom, and we're going to really hone it in and talk about 3 mushrooms that I feel are most relevant for us today. And the first is chaga. So you might be thinking, that doesn't look like the mushroom that I'm used to. Or maybe you go and you're all in, near the Northeast, so you might be able to go and harvest chaga. It's grows on birch trees, so there's definitely some chaga up there. But chaga is known as the king of mushrooms. And the reason for this is when you properly source chaga, so when it's wild harvested from birch and extracted, extraction is really key, and we'll talk about that in a moment. It has the most antioxidant properties of any food on the planet. So 1 serving of our Four Sigmatic chaga elixir, it's like our formula of the most potent kind of, you can think of it as a tea, but it's not truly tea. To have tea, you need the Camellia sinensis tea leaf. It's not tea, it's just, that's what we think of. It's an extract of mushrooms and herbs. But one of those little green packets has the equivalent antioxidants of 30 pounds of raw carrots. So it's like, we're thinking of those 4 Sigma foods. These are like off the charts in terms of either the micro macronutrients, vitamins, minerals, what they contain, right? Really true superfoods. And chaga is such a prime example of that. So when we think about, how to support our immune system, flooding our system with antioxidants is absolutely key, right? Antioxidants fight free radicals, which are released in so many times, whether it's even through exercise or through aging or through sun exposure or through pollutants in the air. On the West, we're dealing with so many fires, right? That's directly breathing in that smoke. And so, it's so critical to make sure that our bodies are fueled with antioxidant properties to really support both immune function, but also just overall well-being. So chaga our defend mushroom, right? Like any time of day, defend. Then we've kind of at Four Sigmatic created this 3-tier routine system. So where Chaga is kind of your baseline to defend and build that overall immune. We then go into the need for, productivity or helping you achieve, maybe it's focusing through work or, with your family. And lion's mane is for your brain, right? You can remember it because it rhymes. And it's this incredible mushroom, again, grows on the side of trees, has nothing to do with the mane of a lion, but it does have this kind of puffy white cascading hairs that resemble a lion's mane. And it's incredible ally. We add this in many of our beverages with caffeine, because instead of, just flooding the system with caffeine, we want to make our habits as effective as possible. So rather than just like, I'm going to flood my body with caffeine and get all jittery, it's like, why are we drinking that caffeine in the first place? And almost always I hear it's to wake up, to turn on my brain, to be more productive, focused, creative. And so by adding high extracts of an ingredient like lion's mane, we're actually making, I believe, that beverage more effective for why you turn to it in the first place. Lion's mane for your brain. Think with lion's mane. And last but not least, no kind of cycle would be complete without a rest and reset. And this is where Reishi comes in. Reishi is known as the queen of mushrooms. She's one of the oldest world and does so many things that I could have a day talk just on Reishi. But at Four Sigmatic, we really try to give each species like a character to understand and make it really applicable when and why to take these. And so we call Reishi our chill mushroom, right? Deeply supporting occasional stress, which allows us to fall into a deeper night of sleep. And really, stress is, when we're in a state of stress, nothing else in our body is working, right? When we're stressed, is literally in a fight or flight survival mode, whether it's our immune function or our digestive function or, our cognition, all of these parts of the human take the backbeat when we are stressed because our body is telling us that we need to survive and that there's an acute threat. And that's actually really important, right? It's a tactic that our bodies evolved to experience, but the problem is when it becomes chronic, right? When it becomes long-term. Same issue, think of inflammation, right? Short-term inflammation is really important to heal a wound or, whatever the kind of trigger might be. It starts to become dangerous when it's chronic, when it's long-term. And when we're chronically in a state of stress, which is, in my private practice, I have not come, maybe one of like hundreds of clients have been like, yeah, I'm totally not stressed. And when we support our stress response, symptoms that we don't even think had anything to do with stress, if we think of our life flow as a river, we take away the dam. Stress is this dam, this blockage, so that the rest of what our body knows and wants to do can begin to work once again. So, if there's any mushroom that I recommend starting with, if you're totally new, it is always Reishi. She is such a powerful ally for, yes, stress and immune support, but also so much more that we might not even realize until we begin taking her for ideally several weeks, 4 to 6 weeks before you say it's working or it's not. Okay. Quality is really, really important when it comes to specifically mushrooms, because mushrooms are known as bioaccumulators. So essentially they absorb a lot from the environment or the medium that they're growing from. So this is why it's really important for us to grow our mushrooms on the trees that they evolved to grow on, because it's kind of like we are what we eat, right? The mushrooms are also what they eat. And so, for example, chaga, one of the key antioxidants we study in chaga is called betalainic acid. And that comes from betalain, which is found in the bark of the birch tree, right? So there's this direct correlation between the trees or the species that these mushrooms grow upon, which gives them the potency of the medicine that they are. And so similarly, if you're growing your mushrooms on, you know, whatever substrate and there's contamination in that area or that soil or that, compost or straw or whatever it might be that you're using, that will likely end up in the mushroom. And because of this bioaccumulation ability, they're incredible allies for our ecosystem. So we know that they can clean up, potential heavy metal sites or even oil spills, like absolutely wonderful, to be a bioaccumulator when it comes to environmental waste and toxins. But when it comes to medicine and to our own bodies, it's really important that these ingredients are clean. And so, or USDA organic is, I'm going to go here, is almost like the first line of defense to make sure your mushrooms are organic. Beyond that, they really should be third-party lab tested, right? So at Four Sigmatic, every specific ingredient and every final batch is not only, of course, organic, but goes through these rigorous third-party tests to make sure that they are truly clean sources, so that they're clean of heavy metals, allergens, bad bacteria, yeast, mold, mycotoxins, pesticides, you name it. And yeah, I'm so proud that we do this. It's really unique and really critical, especially when it comes to these mushroom fruiting bodies. This is our process, which I think is kind of fun, but I kind of skipped over it because in the name of time. But essentially we start with a true mushroom, right, which I mentioned. This extraction piece is super critical. I'm seeing like all sorts of words out there in the marketplace, like fermented mushrooms and micronized. And honestly, you need your mushrooms to be extracted for them to be beneficial. And the reason, in like a minute or less, and please reach out to me after, to Gary, if you have questions, and we'll make sure to go deeper with you. But fungi have a compound in their cell wall. It's called chitin, and it's the same compound found in crustaceans. So think of like a shrimp or crab or a lobster shell. And this compound, this chitin, almost blocks the beneficial constituents from our bodies being able to access them. And so in order for us to get all of these, polysaccharides, these incredible, basically complex sugars that give us the immune support, or these terpenes, which are these oil compounds that give the mushrooms the ability to support our stress response, this chitin needs to be broken open. It needs to be cracked essentially, so that all the beneficial compounds can become bioavailable for our bodies, right? Think of like trying to get nutrients from a crab shell. Really tough, right? It needs to be boiled for a very long time for that tough chitin to dissolve. Or, so the two methods of extraction are long hot water boil, we call it a decoction, or through alcohol, right? A traditional tincture. And both of these methods break that chitin to release the compounds. At Four Sigmatic, we do both. So it's called a double extraction. And I think of it like using the whole animal, right? If you're a meat eater, like getting all possible benefits from that single fruiting body. 3, we spray dry. It's basically a giant dehydrator, which turns these extracts back into a powder. And at that point, we combine with, organic fair trade ground coffee, or cacao, or, ceremonial grade matcha, whatever it is, to create really delicious recipes. And then, of course, as I mentioned, third-party lab tested. And if it passes our tests and our standards, then it goes to you, our customer. Okay, I didn't even get to like, routines or products. I'll cruise through. I really wanted to let you know, I think you're already getting the picture of like what really sets us apart. We're really so unique when it comes to the world of mushrooms and superfoods and the way that we do things. And our whole philosophy is, I've said this in other ways, but bridging or unifying modern science with Mother Nature or tradition, to upgrade daily staples and in turn help you meet the demands of modern life. So in our minute left, I wanted to share with you our two main products so that you have a really tangible way to start bringing all this knowledge into your daily routine. And the first is our ground coffee. So as Gary mentioned earlier, it's real coffee, right? It tastes like coffee. It is coffee. We use, a fair trade, single origin, USDA organic coffee, and then add both chaga and lion's mane mushrooms. So you're getting 500 milligrams or a full supplement dose of these functional mushrooms for immune support and that productivity in every cup of coffee. So, if you already drink coffee, this is the easiest way to start elevating your routine, right? Start upgrading your staple. And if you have something you do in the evening, right? I mentioned maybe it's a glass of wine or something sweet. This is our evening routine, and it's with reishi, right? That queen of mushrooms, our chill mushroom. And this is, it's with cacao, which is a superfood in and of itself. So full of antioxidant properties, minimally processed cacao, and it tastes like this really rich European style hot chocolate, but has 500 milligrams of that reishi mushroom in it. So yeah, truly wonderful if you do if you do have an evening routine, you can elevate it with mushroom cacao mix with reishi. Okay, we cruised through so much. We'll do a Q&A, and this is our team that'll show you all. But I'll stop the share and let's see what questions we have in our few minutes.
Okay, so one question we have: I love whole grass-fed milk in my coffee or tea. Would that have any negative effect on the mushroom coffee?
Yeah, however you take your coffee, take your mushroom coffee. I tell my clients, which sounds kind of silly, but the medicine doesn't work if you don't take it. And what I mean by that is no matter how incredible a formula is and how much education you have and it's awesome for you, if it's not going to make sense for your daily life, it defeats the purpose. So if you're used to making coffee in a certain way, the important thing is to start using, our products, to start incorporating these ingredients in the way that makes sense for you. Of course, there's, best practices of, formulation and adding, with our elixirs, we add rose hips, which is rich in vitamin C, and that help potentize the compounds in the mushroom. So there's these, of course, best practices, things that make it a little more effective or a little less. But before that, if you're new to these ingredients, just use them in whatever way makes sense for you. So yes, add your milk, add your cream, add whatever it is, and just start by, bringing the product into your daily life.
And I'll add a question to that. A lot of people are drinking cold brew coffee. Can this be made and then put in the refrigerator? And is it as effective if you drink it cold?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. You can make, so that's why it's ground and why we've pre-extracted the ingredients. So you'll notice oftentimes with mushroom products, it says for best results, boil for 4 to 6 hours or prepare it in a specific way. We like to say we've done the heavy lifting, so all you have to do is use it.
Thank you very much for doing that.
Yeah, you bet. So yeah, you don't need hot water for any product. You can make, the coffee cold. You can add elixirs into your smoothies. They will be just as bioactive in a cold or hot form.
Great. Another question: how do we purchase the coffee? And I'll take that one.
That one.
One, we have a great selection in the store. You can stop in and pick it up. You can order it online. You can call up and order it, and one of the staff will be happy to walk you through the different ones and the mushrooms that are blended in there. And again, being Customer Appreciation Week, that all the mushrooms products are 20% off, along with everything else in the Health and Wellness Center. So it's a great time to
Wow.
to try it. And I know we do have some big bags of the coffee. We also have the boxes which is nice because they're individual packets. You can take it with you for those of us that are getting out of the house right now, but you can just mix it as you need it.
Awesome.
And if there are any more questions, please type them in. And if we don't get any more questions, I want to thank you very much. This was excellent. And hopefully we'll get together and we'll be able to keep putting together more and more information and either have some webinars on our site or some podcasts to get more information out to people.
Yes.
And to everyone, thank you for attending. We will have this on our blog site. If you go to naturalcompounder.com/blog, within hopefully a few hours, this will be up on our customer appreciation blog post, along with all the other webinars. We do have another webinar tonight at 7 and one tomorrow night at 7. They'll all be up there on the site. And please remember, if you have any questions on anything, give us a call or stop in. The staff is very well educated on this, and if we don't know the answer, we will get in touch with Danielle, get you the answer for you.
Yeah.
And thank you so much, and we appreciate your support and the company's support, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you everyone for being here. Yeah, as Gary mentioned, we have like a rock star customer service team. So you can email us support@Four Sigmatic if you do think of any questions later. We also have, if you do purchase and you don't like anything, for us, we have 100% money back guarantee. We really believe in what we're doing. So if you do try anything and you don't like it, seriously, zero pressure. It's on us. And yeah,
What a
thank you so
great
much.
deal. There's nothing to lose. It's on sale and you can try it. And if you don't like it, just send it back. What a
Yes.
deal. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Appreciate you. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.